How's it going, Canucks fans? David here, and today my friend Paul and I will be previewing the Canucks vs. Blues series. I thought Paul was a perfect guest as he's been on a few times and he is a St. Louis Blues fan, so this should be really interesting. How's it going, Paul?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm pumped for the series, pumped after that big play-in series win against the Minnesota Wild. And yeah, it should be a good series. And yeah, in this video, we're just going to go over, like I did with Clay before the Minnesota series, I have a list of 7 subjects. Paul and I are going to bounce back and forth. But in this video, instead of only looking at a Canucks perspective, Paul will give his take on the St. Louis side. We'll talk back and forth a bit. And at the end, we'll predict what we think will happen for the series. Ready, Paul?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Cool. So I guess just start by telling Canuck fans what you think the lines will be for St. Louis. They'll be shown on the screen now.
Okay, so most likely we'll see the first line with Tarasenko, Shen, and Schwartz. Second line, who've been together most of this season, with Sanford on left wing and O'Reilly and Perron, the dynamic duo there. Then third line, assuming that Sammy Blais is healthy, because he might have gotten injured last game. We're not too sure if he'll be ready. But if he is, he'll be on the third line with Robert Thomas and Tyler Bozak. And then the fourth line would be Steen, Barbashev, and Sundqvist, that fourth line that won the Cup with them last year. And on defense, I'm going to assume we'll see Vince Dunn paired with Pietrangelo on the first line, although Pietrangelo might see a lot of time also with Gunnarsson later on in the series. I'm not too sure how that will work. Second line, Scandella and Parayko, although Scandella too can move up and down the lineup depending on who they decide to go with. And then third line, Justin Falk. And I think we'll see Robert Bortuzzo to get that physical body in. I'm not sure if we'll see him game 1, but I'm sure at some point we will. And then in nets, of course, Jordan Binnington and then Jake Allen to back him up.
Jeez, that's a scary lineup for Canucks fans to be looking at here before the series. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not too scary after the round robin, but
yeah, we'll get to that. But Vancouver's lineup, first line has to be the Lotto line. JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, and Brock Besser. After struggling game 1, we saw these 3 put together, and they obviously did really well, and Vancouver went on to win the series. So I can't imagine them being split. Then on the second line, Pearson, Horvat, and Eriksson, the shutdown line. Third line, Roussel, Brandon Sutter, and Jake Virtanen. Then on the fourth line, Tyler Mott, Jay Beagle, and Zach McEwen. Then on defense, we're looking at Hughes and Tanev, Edler and Stetcher, and then Neil Levy and Myers. Now, there's no Fattenberg in this lineup. He was unfit to play. Even if he is healthy, he should take Neil Levy's spot. But honestly, with the way he was playing, and like I was talking about in my play-in game reviews, I'd love to see Levy stay in the lineup. Up front, no Gaudette and Toffoli. No Gaudette, people were speculating he'd be a healthy scratch anyways. No Toffoli. That's definitely a loss. And then in that, just Markey and Demko. But yeah, I don't know. Two teams with good offense, I would say. St. Louis has a clear edge defensively with guys like Parayko and Pietrangelo, Falk, and just overall strong blue line. Like everyone talked about Minnesota's top 4D. St. Louis feels like all 6 are pretty dangerous. And then in net, I think it's pretty close. But probably Binnington just because the Cup last season.
Yeah, maybe more clutch, but we haven't seen much opportunity for Markstrom to show that yet. So you never know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so with the 4 months pause, really it's been a while before this that we saw any games. So, Paul, all you have for St. Louis is to base like gameplay going in are those round robin games. You want to talk about that because a lot has been made about the 0-3.
Yeah, sure. So before there was the exhibition game, which was a write-off. They lost 4-0 against Chicago. Terrible game for the Blues. They just weren't at the paces, and Chicago looked great, which they continued in their series. And then the round robin, I mean, they lost every single game. They choked one with 0.01 seconds left, which was actually, I think, their best game against Colorado. Jordan Binnington stood on his head most of the game. But, I mean, getting outscored and outshot every single game is not a great look. It was the first time we've seen Tarasenko since his injury at the start of the season. He looked okay, only played 2 games, but yeah, just overall not great momentum to carry in. And hopefully, since the games were meaningless, or well, there was home ice advantage, but what does that really mean now? So hopefully they can push this aside and just turn a new leaf and play like they did last playoffs in
Just a
meaningful
question.
games now. Yeah.
Saw somewhere that in their games, in terms of just shot attempts from anywhere, they were out attempted a total of 57 over the course of their round robin games. What's the what's the difference between that Blues team that finished the season 10-2 in their last 12 and the 0-3? Like, what changed there?
I think, well, last season it was their forecheck helped them out a lot. Every line was going high energy. I think the past 3 games I've watched, they've just been inviting pressure, like letting the team carry it into the zone and settle in with sustained pressure. And then their Ds are just getting the puck and flipping it out right to their Ds to come back in. There's just no like energy to actually get the puck and put pressure on teams. Also, last game against Dallas, they took a ton of penalties, which could be a huge issue against Vancouver's power play.
Yeah, yeah, discipline's also an issue for Vancouver. Speaking of it, but yeah, if Vancouver has any chance of beating the Blues, I think they need to come out game 1 and game 2 flying. Well, because you're right. I think for the Blues, maybe there was a lack of urgency with the games being relatively meaningless. Vancouver needs to come out flying and set that pace right away, while St. Louis, hopefully, for Canucks fans, are still adapting to the pace of play. But Vancouver, they had playing games, and part of the reason why I say that they're going to come out flying is because, man, that Minnesota series was fast. It felt like a playoff series, every bit of one. And obviously, Minnesota isn't the team that St. Louis is, but they were still playing Vancouver really hard. It was a great test, and they honestly, I think they got better as the series went on. Obviously, a tight game in Game 4, but I think if Markey was on playing like Markstrom should play, I think that game could have honestly been not even that close at all. But saw Vancouver get better through the playing games, so I think I don't know. The teams are kind of at 2 different states, definitely going into this series right now.
Yeah, I agree. Momentum wise, Vancouver definitely has the edge, but we'll see. Like it could just be a completely different thing. That's what I'm hoping for as a St. Louis fan. But I agree with what you said. If Vancouver come out hard first 2 games, take those, then they're in a great spot, even if St. Louis decide to turn it on later on in the series.
Yeah, I think game 1 and 2 will be huge. It just depends how quick St. Louis can flip that switch. But so I'll just, from a St. Louis perspective, Paul, obviously every team needs to have good goaltending. So with the exception of Binnington, who's the most important player, either up front or on defense for St. Louis in this series here?
I think it's gonna have to be their captain, Alex Pietrangelo. He's plays shutdown minutes, plays the most on the team. O'Reilly, I mean, eats up a lot of minutes for a centerman, but I think last year, the entire cup run, Pietrangelo was that stable defenseman that they could always throw on the ice and also chipping in offensively as well. I think he led defensemen in points, maybe after Torrey Krug, I'm not too sure. But yeah, so I think they're going to need him to play like he did last year and play like he did throughout the season, being one of the top Ds this year.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. On Vancouver, I'm going Bo Horvat because a lot of line, I'm banking on one of those 3 at least producing and making sure that line holds it together. But on the second line, we really have Horvat, Pearson, and Erickson. And I think Bo has to be playing like Horvat can play. He has to be good defensively, but not only that, we still need him to produce offense. He's a key part of that top 6. And I really think when Horvat's going, there's a certain there's a difference to the team. The whole team's kind of going with him, and I think Bo Horvat's the most important player on Vancouver for this series, with the exception of Markstrom, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, but thank you. And besides that, let's move on to our dark horse. So, which player that really doesn't get that much attention could be an X factor in this series for St. Louis, Paul?
I think young Robert Thomas could be an X factor in this series. He's their only insanely fast player. They have guys like Braden Shen and Schwartz who are pretty quick on their feet and put pressure. But for a third liner, he just has blazing speed. Second power play, I think he's one to watch out for Vancouver, especially when he's coming at their rather sluggish defenseman at times. So I think he could definitely have an impact this series.
No, that's a good pick. Vancouver, their dark horse. I'm gonna go Jake Virtanen because a lot has been made going into this series about how the bottom six on St. Louis really kills Vancouver's bottom six. And if Vancouver's going to get any offense at all from that third line of Roussel and Sutter and Virtanen, I think it's going to have to be Virtanen who does it. He's going to have to find a way to score. And look, he's a big body. He's a fast player. He has consistency issues, obviously. But if he can just find a way to put the puck in the net, we saw him. He was on pace for 20 goals this year. If he does that and he just finds a way to even score 1 or 2 goals, that'd be huge this series, I think. So dark horse for me is Jake Virtanen.
And I think he looked all right in the Minnesota series too.
Yeah, I think the offense didn't come, but he had his chances for sure, and I think he looked good. And so I guess I'll start this one just to mix it up a bit. But which player are you most excited to see? So by this, I mean like just most interested to see in this next round. And for me, in my opinion, he is the most exciting Canuck to watch. I'm going Quinn Hughes just because he had such a good series against Minnesota. He's so good with the puck, and he really does it all. And I'm just excited to see how he handles the Blues because they're a mean team, and they're a really good team. So Minnesota, a lot was made about kind of like their weak offense. They didn't really they're not the same team in terms of forechecking that St. Louis is. That one is not as tough to keep. Like St. Louis is a hard team to keep the puck away from, and I'm just interested to see how Quinn Hughes handles it because he's handled every step of his NHL career pretty good so far. It'll be cool to see how he handles the defending Stanley Cup champs.
Yeah, and I think he's good at like spinning off checks and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with hard forecheck that St. Louis bring.
Yeah, and then who are you most excited to watch in the Blues?
Yeah, so on St. Louis, I'm gonna have to choose Vladdy Tarasenko just because I saw him for 10 games during the regular season. He had like 10 points, and now finally he's back. He looked okay, still a little shaky, but he's that player that has like moments where he just looks great, and then he's got to cash in on those, or else it's a bad night for him. So I'm excited to see him play. Hopefully, can produce some power play goals, some crucial snipes, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna completely agree with that, and I'm gonna add on to it because the next question is who are you most scared of? And there's kind of two for me on the Blues, but I'll start with Tarasenko. He is a really good player when he's going, and that shot of his is right up there with anyone else in the league, really. So I'm most scared of Tarasenko because when Vancouver played St. Louis, maybe the first time they played them this season, he was there. But with the exception of that, Vancouver really hasn't seen a lot of Tarasenko, and he's a huge difference maker, adding him to that already dangerous St. Louis top six. So I'm pretty scared of that shot, especially on the power play with how undisciplined Vancouver has been. Then I'm also scared of Robert Thomas. Like I spoke about before, the matchup in the bottom six is pretty rough for Vancouver, and he's just one of those. Like if you look at both teams' bottom sixes, Robert Thomas jumps out as being the best. So scared to see what he can do as well.
Yeah, I think those are two fair selections for you as a Vancouver fan. And for me as a Blues fan, I'm going to go with your pick for who you're most excited to watch in Quinn Hughes. St. Louis tend to struggle at matching up against other teams' defensemen. Every time they play Nashville, it seems like Roman Josi just torches them and has the puck the entire game. And even their matchups this year against Vancouver, I feel like Hughes had the puck for like half the game almost. So I'm definitely scared of his rushes, his playmaking ability, and that shot. Binnington seems to struggle a lot from shots that he can't see, just like finding its way through. And I think Hughes can get a couple of those and be a problem for them.
That's a good pick. He is good at what's it called? Like just
Getting shots through,
on the blue line. He's good at that, and he does
the
have the
Brent Burns type.
yeah. Like it. I saw stats. I think out of all the play-in series, no player on like any team had possessed the puck as much as Quinn Hughes did throughout the series. Throughout their series. So
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
yeah, he had the puck a lot. So that's it. We kind of went through all these. Let's wrap it up here with the series prediction. Paul, who's winning?
Okay, so I don't want to say Vancouver, but just based on everything based on what we have seen so far post the pause. Um, I'm gonna have to give it to Vancouver in 6 or 7. I'm gonna say 6 just because I think St. Louis win it just because Binnington's so solid in game sevens. So I'm gonna have to say Vancouver in 6, but that's assuming that St. Louis continue to play how they've been playing, come up and Vancouver come out sharp, win the first 2 games, and then I think if they win the first 2 games and then St. Louis turn it on, they'll be able to grab 2 out of the last 4.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And while you're a Blues fan picking Vancouver and I'm a Canucks fan, I'm going to go with St. Louis in 7. And I'm not even kidding. One of the things I thought about was game 7, Binnington, how solid he's been. And look, like Vancouver's bank, if Vancouver, like any argument that has this series going 7 games or Vancouver winning is based, I think, starts with St. Louis starting slow. And
Yeah, I agree.
I think there is going to be a certain transition period. I think it's really tough to just flip the switch like that. Like even in Vancouver, Minnesota series, like each game kind of built up. And so I think hopefully Vancouver, as a Canucks fan, they can take game 1, start from there. Like I see it going 7. And they definitely, in terms of speed, in terms of just enthusiasm, Vancouver takes it in there and they don't really have anything to lose. But St. Louis is just, you can't look at the teams and make like the actual lineups and make the argument that Vancouver is stronger on paper. And I think that's going to come through when they have a lot of experience in that room. And ultimately, I see it going 7 games, could go either way. But I think the Blues are ultimately going to win
Yeah, I mean, they're the reigning champs for a reason. And I think if they can steal one of the games where they're not at their best, then Vancouver is in trouble.
it. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that doesn't happen, and Vancouver do win the games where St. Louis aren't playing up to how they should play on paper and from what we've seen. So that's why I say Van in 6. But honestly, it's a tough series to predict because we don't know what to expect after just the first game. So
Yeah, it's tough because they're both like in really opposite positions. Like Vancouver was on a slide going into that break. It was like, what the heck is happening? We're gonna miss the playoffs. St. Louis was 10-2. Like they're building up, and they're like this team was about to make another run. It felt like for sure. And then post the pause, Vancouver has looked really good. Mind you, playing against Minnesota, but still a team like in their ballpark though, like close to where they were in the standings. And St. Louis just hasn't looked like the Blues that we've been used to over the past 2 seasons here. So, yeah,
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
yeah, Dallas got a bunch of scoring chances against them, and they struggled to score the entire round robin as well. So
Yeah. So, I don't, either way, though, like you said, it is going to be interesting. And I'm super excited to watch it. And yeah, I don't know. Thank you so much, Paul, for coming on. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on again. It's gonna be a stressful series for both of us, I'm sure.
Yeah, it will be. And yeah, who knows? Maybe if we see a game 7, we'll do a preview before game 7.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we're in that situation if we're both freaking alive and don't have heart attacks before then. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a great series. Thank you again for coming on. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, if you liked what you watched, please hit like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at Fan Vancouver, and let us know if you agree or disagree with us. Where do you see this series going? Should be a good one. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks, Paul, and go Canucks go.